But you were
play.
telling
It's a
me.
bitch, but it's terrific.
I'd love to see it. Councilperson Wyrick, won't you please join us at the dais?
Sing them all day. Oh.
Cynthia, you just can't not be with him next. I understand, okay. No, it's okay. You can stay. But when you do speak, you'll want to be on a mic.
This one.
Oh,
will
you,
be-
sure.
This one be live?
Yeah, you betcha.
Okay.
Where is that mic? Oh, there it is.
Right here.
I see.
The light.
It's right in the fold.
I think it's under Steve's control, so he can.
It is. I'll even turn it on just to
Are we ready?
warn you. Yeah. Yep, we're on.
Let's please call the February 19th Arts Commission meeting to order. We'll have a roll call, Steve, please.
Commissioner Harmon,
Here.
Commissioner Conrad,
Here?
Commissioner Stobo,
Here.
Commissioner Grau,
Here.
Chair Golden, Vice Chair Addison,
Here.
and Commissioner Balderman is absent. We also have our City Council liaison present, Councilmember William Wyrick.
Yes, welcome, Bill. And I do see someone out there in the audience. Are you here to make public comment?
Yes.
All right, well, this is the time for that. If you'd like to come forward, we'll give you a minute to get your
Okay.
papers in order, and then you can come on up and introduce yourself at the podium, please.
Do you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance routine? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Linda Epstein Clark.
Linda Epstein?
Clark,
Welcome,
dash
Linda.
Clark. Thank you. And I live at 520 Buckboard. And I've been attending meetings because because the Wild Tennis Academy is directly in back of our home. And we were not noticed of the event that was taking place. And when I hear them speak, the Wilds speak about needing to reduce the amount of money that is outgoing, and then I multiply out the money that he's taking in as a nonprofit organization, it's over, if it were just 50 students instead of the 100 that he's hoping for, that's over $1 million a year for 50 students. Or, okay, so let's see, it's $43,000 per student, and he has about 75 students. And whatever that math turns out to be, it's a very high number. And when there was talk about the building and being able to not perform at such a high level because it was incurring so much expense, I feel like there are resources that are available to make that a very important, aesthetically. I don't think that anybody should be concerned about the aesthetics that are going into what they claim to be a 100-year commitment. And in the Planning Commission, there were people that were very concerned about budget for them without knowing their finances, because they come forward and they say, well, we don't have the money to do this. And it's very easy to, I mean, my multiplication is probably off, but all of the numbers are there and available. And the status of nonprofit, when you're bringing in that kind of money, means that you're reinvesting that all the time in your own business. And I think that they should be held to the highest standard, as a tennis academy, which is really an income-producing academy. And so that's something that keeps coming up, that they don't have money to do the things that they need to do. And I, for one, believe that that's a lot of money, and that the building should not be cheapened down or cut back, and that it has to represent Ojai at its finest, because you're going to have so many people present. But I object to the entire project because I was never noticed. So, anyway, that's how I think they should be held to a high standard. That's really all I have to say about the art, the aesthetics of the building, and of the entire place. Yeah.
We really appreciate your comments, Linda. Thank you for coming forward. We're going to be receiving a report on projects that are covered under public art later in our meeting. It's still a question whether or not Weil is covered, and hopefully we'll get some information on that tonight. If they are, we sure agree with you. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. We can't really discuss this as public comments, are just to be received. So if you have questions about it, you might want to bring them up when we get to public art committee report. Okay, thank you. And I see that Cynthia Wyrick would also like to comment. Cynthia?
Hi. Hi, Commissioners. I am Cynthia Wyrick, and I'm a recent Ojai permanent resident, like 14 months, and I have lots of questions, not comments, and I know this is a time for comments, but I guess my largest one is, why isn't this commission a 501c3? I'm coming from Louisiana. I was a state council member. I was a local council member. I was on multiple boards. Everybody was a 501c3. So you could accept money and donations for people, and they would then be tax exempt. Every art organization, even historic organizations. So anyway, I read through, and I got through the city of Ojai stuff, went all the way to the NEA, down to the California State Arts Council and their budget, which is larger than it's been in 9 years, I discovered. They all are 501c3s. Ventura County Arts Council is a 501c3. You can join, and that's a tax deduction. And it also, this is another point, has for Ventura County, there are three projects that jumped to my attention when I was reading all of this. The California Poets in the Schools, the Ventura Education Partnership Arts Collaborative, and Focus on the Masters. And I wonder if you all are made, I could find no link anywhere online between the Ojai Arts Commission and the county or the state. And if there isn't one, I'm curious. If there is one, I couldn't find it. And I guess these are just questions I'd like somebody to think about and maybe answer at a later time when you've got time to deal with it. Let's see. And also on your website, you're funded. Your budget comes from the city of Ojai. Yet on your website, you claim that there are 20 active art organizations in the valley, and then you've got roster artists and roster organizations listed. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And that sounds more like a valley funded, or should be a valley funded organization, again, which takes me back to a 501c3, because your close tie with the Ojai Unified School District and helping them. I'm sure you don't limit your programming just to the schools that are within the city limits of Ojai, but maybe you do, and I don't know. Again, I've just been reading, and these were just questions that came to my mind as I read, and I made some notes about them. Also, 404, Public Arts, the page cannot be found. I've tried multiple times. It can't be found. It's the collection. I really, because I'm new, I wanted to see the collection, and it's just page cannot be found.
That's a link that didn't work for you, is that what you're saying?
It's the collection link. Yeah.
Collection, or is it the PowerPoint of the public art? Probably the PowerPoint.
Probably can't.
Well, it said collection, and then it said PowerPoint, but I didn't see anything that just said collection.
If you stick around, we're actually gonna.
Cool. Great. Okay. Fabulous. Okay. Anyway, these are questions for your consideration, and really, I don't know. Just take it all in a lump sum as a comment. Thank you.
Cynthia. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I could respond with your, as if you would like, to the question on the nonprofit status and the 501c3. Believe it or not, I was actually on the IRS website today trying to get a little information on this, not anticipating this, on something else. The Arts Commission is part of the city of Ojai. And so it is indistinct from the city. It is part and parcel with the city of Ojai. Municipalities, and I can quote from the IRS website here, governmental units such as states and their political subdivisions are generally not subject to federal income tax. Political subdivisions of a state are entities with one or more of the sovereign powers of the state, such as the power to tax. Typically, they include counties or municipalities and their agencies or departments, and that would include the commission. Charitable contributions to governmental units are tax deductible under Section 170C1 of the Internal Revenue Code if made for a public purpose. So there is a means for folks to donate something to the city or to the Art Commission. Donations by policy need to be accepted by the City Council. And as stated, they can be written off as, they can be a tax write-off if they're used for public purposes. So,
I was keeping up with you. So if somebody wanted to donate $1,000 to public art
right,
through the commission,
right.
would it or would it not be tax deductible?
Yes, it would be, with the assumption, and I think it'd
If
be
you
a
were a
reasonable
501c3.
assumption. No. Because our status as a municipality, under that section of the IRS code, you can make a donation to a municipality and have it as a tax write-off.
See, I didn't see that anywhere on the website.
And that's probably correct. I doubt that we have addressed that on the website.
I've never lived any place so small but so wealthy, and it just seems to me like there'd people that would just hand you money on a yearly basis for public art.
You are from Louisiana.
No, we had to work really hard in Louisiana for money, real hard. So anyway, the State Arts Council gets their money from the California State General Fund, from the NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, from California's Arts License Plate Program, which I've never seen one of those to my knowledge. And donations from the Keep Arts in the Schools Volunteer Contribution Fund, which is on your tax form. It's one of the checkoff things. So that's where I got on the state level from how they're getting their funds. I just don't, I guess basically, probably to Steve, I don't understand why this commission is so cut off from the county and the state. Or it seems to be. So, just a question.
Thank you. All right. Okay, any other public comment? All right, then we're going to look at the minutes of the January 15th meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a correction. on page 3, where it says Arts Ojai Education. It says, it makes it, yeah, on page 3.
My
On,
minutes start with page 5. Page 3.
3 of the minutes. It's on page 7.
Page
So it's
7. I'm sorry, I thought you said
Page 3 at the top or page 7 if you're looking at the bottom?
Yeah, it's page 3 of the minutes. It's page 7 of the packet.
We have pages on both sides.
Anyway, under Arts Ojai Education, letter E, in the second paragraph, it says, it was talking about what I was trying to explain, and I don't like the last sentence there. She thought the program could be put on for a little effort. That's not what I meant. She thought the program would be worth the effort is more appropriate. So if you could change that sentence to that, I would appreciate it. Very little we do takes little effort.
Okay, no problem. Any other corrections to the minutes?
Oh, and I had another question. I don't know what that last sentence means in E. On the same page, you follow it down. It says, Commissioner Harmon felt the program should be given more time. What does that mean?
My feeling is that that means she thought the program would be worth the effort. Then maybe we can just strike that.
Let's just strike that sentence, because I don't know what that means. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
They're taking that off the television program. They're just really typing verbatim, I think, pretty much. Any other corrections? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
Okay, I move we,
In a
Accept the
second,
minutes.
Roger moved, a second, Linda second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes stand approved as corrected. Thank you, Linda, for your corrections. Let's move right into our discussion and action items. We're gonna start with Linda. You've got something really fun for us here tonight.
I'm looking at my, our agenda. Page 1 of 3. Which one's that? Oh, okay, here we go.
it's right,
Okay, we have a couple things tonight. We've been working on the website, like Heather mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna let Heather explain that, but before we get to that, while she's working on this program is when she does get it. Maybe, should we talk about the website first and then go to the cards, guys? What do you think? That sounds good.
Yeah, let's do the cards, yeah, because I think that it leads into it.
Okay, so, just to make everybody aware of the situation that, I don't know if we've made that clear before, we're moving the website onto a movable, or not a movable,
Did you reach the water,
WordPress
Steve?
platform, so that when we're no longer on the commission,
Thank
it'll
you.
be easy to upload for anybody to use. So that's what we're doing right now. So we're making some changes and we're updating. So I'm gonna give it over to Heather and she can explain, walk you through it.
So here's the basic, let's get to the top. Here's the homepage.
Commissioner Stovall, could I interrupt you for just a quick moment? I just want to make a note for the folks in the audience, the folks listening at home. We had a technical, one of our pieces of equipment broke this afternoon, and so we're not able to show this up on the screen to the folks who are watching at Channel 10, so we do apologize. We were ordered the part to repair that, but I just want to let people know who are listening at home, we haven't forgotten to turn the switch. We have a technical issue.
Can they go to the website? I mean, it's not
Sure.
live as our, but it's a test site right now.
You could direct them to the test domain if you wanted to give that out, yeah.
Well, because get feedback from the commission before
Sure.
we open it up to public review.
Sure, just want to let know for
Okay.
those folks who are listening at home, we haven't forgotten about you.
Talking about the test site tonight.
Yes. Yeah, this is, so far, it's not live. We're still kind of working
So
through
what
it.
we're seeing up here is not what's up, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Oh.
The old,
on that?
Okay.
I really don't have that capability here. No, I don't want to try to do that.
It's a test site that they're not all that unhappy that it can't be seen as
Yeah.
interpreting what they
yeah,
just
all the
said.
information's not up, and so,
It eventually will go public if.
It's the same information, it's just a different format, so.
okay, so this is the homepage. As you can see, there's a basic slideshow. Welcome to the Arts Commission. Sorry to scroll very fast. And if I'm moving too fast, just let me know. I can slow down or go back. A lot of the content's from the existing site, or most of the content is from the existing site, where, I'm going through and cleaning up links or things if they're missing and such. But the one thing we've done is at the bottom of the page, and these will always rotate. So there's the 4 areas that we thought, right, that were kind of most important to update. The mentor program, just because we do have news on that fairly often throughout the year, whether it's, announcing the applications, announcing the show, announcing who won and blah, blah, blah. City Gallery, just, because City Gallery does update. The awards and grants, which, look how cute that picture is, by the way.
He's the old man of this.
And then news is just general things, calls to entry that are happening. And so I'll click on these pages, and just other updates. For example, the peace polls on there, just events that happen through the commission.
Might want to add too, when you were mentioning the Ventura Arts Council, we have Ventura Arts Council call to artists right now up on the website. That's what that link is right there.
Yes.
Got it up there, so.
So, yeah, and these 4 boxes will update automatically when someone enters new information in these sections. So I've been trying to build it in a way that it kind of self-populates. So when down the line, when someone else is doing this, they do an update to City Gallery, they don't have to figure out where all the City Gallery information is throughout the website. It just goes there, right there. Yeah, so they just go to one place, enter the information, and it cleans it up the rest of the site. Let's go to the top and let's.
Is there a link to go to the public art slideshow?
That's what I'm working on.
Cynthia okay, you're going to show us where that
Yes.
is?
Because it's got additional.
Yeah, so the About Us
Gotcha.
pretty much hasn't changed. The calendar is the same link to the Google Calendar that's on the current site.
Why don't you click on that and show it to me? I walk them through everything.
Okay.
By the way, Commissioner Stobo, we pulled up another tab in the back if you want to go to the current site. If you
okay.
want to go back and forth for any reason, you can just click on that tab.
Okay,
up
if
there.
someone wants to see how the current site's functioning, just let me know and I'll do that. So this is a current Google Calendar, and what this is it's updated through Google. It's just basically an iframe kind of functionality on the site.
On one of them and show them what it does.
Sure.
Anyone?
So there you go. If you kind of click on it, click on one of the events, it gives you the where, when, and description.
And a website.
And this is actually pretty much taken straight from the current site. I just moved, the Google Calendar was just added straight from there. So that's that. Here's the artist registry, and this is, I've just kind of put a placeholder. I put a couple things in there so we could get an idea of what it's going to look like. It's the same format where it's a table with the email, website, address, phone, and the image isn't loading. But what we discussed in our meeting the other day is adding a contact form to this page. So when people want to register or change their information, it's an easy access thing where they fill out the exact information that's needed and it goes directly to us. It's kind of like the form that we have, or similar to the form we have for the applications for the mentor program that we've been using.
Which would be great.
Yeah, so.
Work for Heather, but it'd be great.
So there's two, so now moving to public art, there's two different, there's the public art page and then there's the drop down, and I'll show you both right now. The public art page is just the description, and on this, on the, what we've been doing, this is again content from the current site, and then there's the public arts code, which is from the current site, and here's a public arts portfolio, which I think will answer Cynthia's question. Now, sorry. Let me see. I have it. I can get it from here. There we go. Sorry, I have to clean up some links. And I apologize if some links aren't functioning. Once the site's transferred over, I'm gonna have to go through everything and clean it up anyway, so if something kind of is going wrong, just let me know. Yes, so it's a little hard to see on the screen, and I just started populating with a couple things. So every piece of public art will have a thumbnail like this that will link to a page with the large image
Much nicer.
and then the information about each piece.
And may I, in case you don't know about it, I just recently became reacquainted with Elise de Puts.
Yeah,
Do you guys have that? Because I'm telling you, the information about,
I have the book.
I'm enthralled reading this thing, and it gives you everything you need to know about all this public art is in that little book. It's quite spectacular, so it's a great resource for you guys.
And
No.
then,
They sell them at the museum.
Oh,
are
okay.
you talking about the fountain, the one with the fountain?
It's called
cover?
Fountain Sculptures and Blank of Ojai,
Well, actually,
Architecture.
Pam has been working at, building out the bios on each of these artists. Do they have bios in there?
Yes, extensive, and also about like the materials that were used, the whole thing it's
But
unbelievable.
is that all about the exterior public art, or does that cover the collection also?
The municipal art collection is not in there. It
Okay,
is
I think Pam, you're working
fountains,
mostly on
Yeah.
the municipal one.
fountain
So that would be great.
sculptures, and architecture
I have
of
a copy
Ojai.
of it, Heather. I'll try to get we'll talk about it in committee, but I
Yeah,
can
just
type
so
up
you know.
that stuff so you
I just
understand
gave
Ooh.
one to
that.
Greg
That would
Grant
help
from
you.
Public
That would be
Works.
terrific.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you're doing the.
I'm working on the
Okay.
intern.
Perfect.
Okay, so again, these are just a couple of samples that I've pulled up. And so this page will just kind of, you can scroll down and see all the thumbnails of all the public art pieces. Then up here, we're going to divide it into areas. Right now, I've just did city entrance, kind of the park that kind of across from Vaughn's, and downtown. But we'll add different areas. I think Bryant Street should be Upper Ojai. And when you click on this, it automatically will pull all the pieces that are in that area. And,
And the book that I'm talking about has a map
oh,
of
terrific.
all the public art numbered on a map of Ojai by area. It's all there.
We'll
Oh.
have to ask her, maybe we can.
It's in the back of the book,
Yeah.
so I would
volunteer,
contact
we can give
her.
credit.
Yeah, and kind of link to the book, yeah.
My mic was off.
That would be terrific.
Okay, I'll call.
Yeah,
You're
so.
gonna die when you see that
Yeah,
book.
so this is just how we started breaking it down, and then you can go to all of it. And then on the sidebar here, we're going to divide it by artist. So you can do a quick search, drop down, and choose whatever artist. And again, this is,
Process.
yeah, in the process. So, and that will take you to Ted Gall, and you'll, then you can read more about it. And if she has, if the information she has, that would be great to add this to the site. And again, we would love to give her credit. I think that'd be terrific. So that's public art. If anyone else, as I'm moving through, just let me know if there's any questions. Grants and awards,
Oh, you didn't cover the slideshow. Are we still gonna put that on there too?
the PowerPoint. We could, if someone wants to download, I'll have it as a downloadable link. I was able to find it, actually, it is a broken link on our site.
Yeah.
I was able to find it through the city site, and so I will, because that would be nice. And maybe if or we could link to a copy of the book, too. I don't know how well, we can discuss that. So city grants and awards, it's the two areas, the grants awards. And then what I'm gonna do, they'll be on both these sections, read more, and that will be, then start going into the archive of all the grant winners and all the awards and such.
Just like it was before. right?
Yeah, just like it was before. And I'll find a page that will be a sample of that. Arts Ojai, if you click on the main page, it's just a basic description of the Arts Ojai, the mentor program in Art 21. Here's the mentor program, read more. And here we go to and this is all the news, and this is how the format will be for the awards and grants. So once you start going down to past recipients, it will be something similar to this. We'll do your photo, a header, and a brief description.
And she said that would all archive too, just like the other site.
Yes. So for example, and here's the mentor program, applications due, and hopefully this is the application page, and now so that's the application online.
Wow, great.
So special events, and that's basically the news section that we have on the site. And again, kind of clicking through things that have happened, there's the Ventura grant, there's the mentor program application, there's the Peace Pole ceremony. And again, we're just starting to add the information as I go through the site. City Gallery, I don't think I have some. Yeah, and I have to document this current show. It's brief description, and then I think there's some past shows maybe. Again, yes. So this will be once we start adding more. We're just still populating things. And our collection. And our collection right now is just a page pulled from the old site, but we'll format it in the same way that we have formatted the public arts page. So you'll see thumbnails of all the pieces, a list of the artists that you can go on and with the information.
Fabulous.
Great.
Yeah. That's just good.
So that leads to the next thing. How are
Right.
people going to know about it?
Right.
And
Okay, all right. Number one, we've already approved the letter that's going to go out to all the arts organizations and the registry. So we'll send that out when we're ready, but we're not ready yet. And then number two, Pam, do you want to talk about it? Oh, okay. Well, Pam, you did the ball with us. You got the ball rolling and everything.
Okay, well, we designed, many of you have seen Jeffrey and my
Pass it around.
postcard, or,
Turn your mic on.
oh,
Here, why don't you pass that down?
sorry. This is a postcard that I use for my personal work. It's a square 3.5-inch glossy on both side cardstock. These are called club cards, and what are the numbers?
Oh, I
we were
have it.
going to order 2,500 cards, I think,
For $140.
For $140.
is what we'd like to do.
and the artwork for that would be, yes, drum roll.
Here.
So that's the front and that's the back.
Oh, can we pass that around too?
Sure.
And with 2,500 cards, we'll drop them off at the hotels and all the stores and organizations,
Visitor center.
visitor centers. So
Oh, it's beautiful.
this will be, a small card, but at least the word's going to start getting out that there's
Oh, this is
a
beautiful.
website.
And who did the design on that? Pam?
I did.
Oh, that's beautiful, Pam.
Thank you.
I know it's simple, clean, and it's something that we can use for years to come. It's not, unless we change the logo, there's no reason to change it. So that brings us to our question about the budget. So, Steve, you mentioned bringing it up. Is this the correct time to bring it up?
Well, I think we talked about if you wanted to get some type of an allocation to ask to get it on for a future agenda item.
Right. So I would ask the commission if that's something you'd be interested in doing. We talked about it once before, but we really didn't go forward with it till we knew the price. But now we know the price, and what do you guys think? And do you want to put it on the agenda for next time as a budget item? Is that how I'd do it?
So,
$199.
so since there is no budget for, am I correct, that you don't have a budget
We don't
currently
have a
for?
budget.
Correct.
PR doesn't
So
have a
we would have to get some idea of where that money would come from. Is that something that we have to put on the agenda before we can talk about it? Or can we
Yes.
talk about it tonight?
You would need to put it on the agenda before you can
So
talk
what
about
you
it.
want to do is ask that this be agendized for the March meeting to discuss
Okay,
how budget monies might be reallocated.
okay.
what's the
turnaround
time?
2 days.
That will work perfectly, because I think the site will be up by then, and then we can do.
Okay. Okay, I would request that we put it on our agenda for next month then.
Okay. Can you kind of give me a little bit language on what that is going to be, then what's going to say?
discuss the budget approval and the concept and approval of a budget for our Arts Ojai website cards.
I have a question. Within other committees that do have budgets, could they put out a loan so something could get?
That's what we can't talk about until it's agendized.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to agendize that so we can talk about it. It's that good old Brown Act.
But yeah, you can talk about that
Get you
all.
every time.
That would be options that you could talk about at the next meeting if you wanted to move something from one committee to another or something like that.
So I'm going to put, see Linda, if this will fit your needs. Discuss reallocation of current budget to public relations.
Finance.
We don't even have to be that specific, just for public relations committee, and then whatever you use it for is what you use it. You'd ask for that amount, and we know what you're going to use it for. That'll inform the discussion. Okay?
And I think you're
So
also-
discuss reallocation of current budget to public relations committee.
I think you're also looking for them to approve the concept as well.
Right.
Do we want more than discuss there, discuss/approve, because we want to do it all at once?
That's sufficient.
Okay, that's sufficient.
Thank you. That's it for us, I think.
Can I actually ask a question?
no.
If we decide, if we get a little antsy and we move ahead with the cards, is it possible that we could be reimbursed, or what? Even if like, taking the risk that we'll be able to fund it, could a person, like a commissioner, be reimbursed after?
You
the
mean
fact?
take the chance if
Yeah.
if the Arts Commission didn't approve it, you would just pay it yourself as an individual?
Yes.
You could take that risk,
Okay. Thank you.
just as long as you clearly understood that you're doing that on your own, so.
Yes. Okay.
Although at this
Because-
point, I don't think you've really got the approval of the commission for the concept, though, but I'll let you guys work that out.
Yeah. Well, is it premature to approve the concept? Sans any discussion about where the money to fund it would come from? Are we allowed to all say that we really love this card and love this idea? Or
Well,
not?
I think you should save it for the March agenda.
Save it for the March
Yeah.
meeting. So I think just be really clear on the risk. The risk might be, Heather, that there isn't a pocket to put one's hand in at this point in time and pull out that money. That's the risk. We'd have to look at the budget and see where can we possibly take this from.
Okay.
Okay?
You could just find a donor out there.
What a wonderful report. Thank you. What a great way to start a meeting. I just think that's looking really, really good. Is there a place on the website, because I know City Council, this has been asked twice of me, where our current goals are stated, our 5-year goals? We've been asked to put those up.
We could do that. Yes. We could add that under the About Us, or
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
All right.
And I think you can just do a copy-paste of the goal sheet.
Our donation policy was supposed to be on there too.
Oh
believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
okay.
And
You know, you could kind of go through your handbook and you'd know what, a lot of things, right?
I guess I could.
Yeah, I mean, there they all are.
She's
Throw
just-
it up there.
It's been a big process for
Yeah.
her to go through, because
Yeah.
the information's there, but the way the site is changing links, and it's a lot of work to
Oh, well, thank you, Heather.
stage
It looks
all that.
terrific.
Well, we're trying to build it in a way that moving forward, it's easy to understand. So when you get on the back end, it doesn't take someone weeks of training.
Where do I click? Yeah. Well, kudos all around. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Love the cards, even though we're not supposed to say that ahead of time. I can't help it. I think they're just spectacular looking. Okay, Pamela,
Okay, well.
Art Acquisitions Committee is next.
We did have an acquisitions meeting with Linda and Michael, and we have some very exciting ideas, but I've been asked to table them until, for this month. So that's my report.
We can't hear what they are. Okay.
Nope.
All right. Michael, awards, selection of Lifetime Achievement in the Arts recipient?
Well, the report is that we did have a meeting and discussed at some length the criteria for the Lifetime Achievement Award and the past recipients, and that led us to discuss possible recipients for this year. And our feeling was that by virtue of what has been recognized over the past several years, it would be appropriate this year to nominate a musician who's making a substantial contribution to our community and for whom the award would be appropriate. And so we have two names to put before you tonight. The first, and I think you'll know both of them and know of their caliber. The first of whom is Jimmy Caleri, a composer, arranger, teacher, performer, who is notable in part for being principal writer of the legendary Raven based band that went on to become a favorite. But he's also performed with the group America and has performed extensively with major musicians. And importantly, I think has also made a significant contribution in the community as a musician. He's been a house musician and leader of the band or the orchestra for a number of local productions, including some that have been done at the high school, some at the Arts Center, and some that OPAT has presented at the Matilaha Auditorium. The other person we'd like to recommend to you is Amanda McBroom, also a longtime resident of Ojai, who first came to major public attention when Bette Midler performed a version of Amanda's song, The Rose, which we all, of course, have heard. Her songs have been recorded by the likes of Bette Midler, Leanne Rimes, Barry Manilow, Judy Collins, Harry Belafonte, etc. She's performed at concert halls around the world, including Carnegie Hall, the Ford Amphitheater in L.A., Wolf Trap, and the Kennedy Center, and overseas in Sydney, at the Melbourne Recital Hall in Melbourne, and in Adelaide, where she headlined their biennial Festival of the Arts. Her performance work continues as a cabaret artist, and she's been performing across the country with a new cabaret show, which brings to the public again some of the extraordinary work that was seen around the country when she and her husband performed Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris for performances across the country. So those are our two recommendations, and I think it's up to the commission now to decide which one of those two they might approve.
I'm just looking at the calendar, Michael, and wondering what your wish is to proceed on this. In February, nominee packets are distributed. I know we don't do it that way anymore. This is old school. And then at the March meeting, we discussed the committee recommendations. That would be next month. And then it says here April is the selection. Do you want to move it up? Are you asking us to move this up tonight?
No, I think it'd be appropriate to discuss it at the March meeting. Would give everyone an opportunity to think further about it and to check the websites that are available for both artists and review their accomplishments. But perhaps we could discuss it and make a decision at the March meeting.
Okay, just want to be real
Okay.
clear on how you
That's
wanted to
fine.
go on that.
That's fine.
So then that's a little homework for you commissioners to please do a little checking. And it is silly for us to distribute paper handouts on these folks when we can go to their websites and learn a lot about them. So that makes a lot of sense.
Or do you have research that you could send us on the web, or do you think we should just go?
I think just go to the web. That's
Okay.
all. That's what I did, and the information is all there.
Okay, everybody? Any other questions for Michael? Thank you. Interesting selections. Okay, then we're going to, if you're finished, we'll move on to another report by you, because Bobby, Arts Ojai, oh, no, I think you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Pamela and I are going to try to fill in on it. We did have an Arts Ojai Education Committee meeting, so Pamela, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. We decided that the Arts 21 program was still very interesting to the community, and we're going to start it off by inviting the Ojai studio artists to do a preview of the films and before the theater opens, and then in the fall take it public again. So we will have, was it 6 months of Saturdays? Is that what we came up with?
I don't remember.
Anyhow, we were going to do it when the theater opens in the fall. run it for Saturdays,
I think it was 3 months when we started it.
3 months.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, Pamela. We had thought if we open when school opens, because we also want to work with the schools and see if we
For
can't get
credit.
credit for students who would come to these films. So this is all, this time, the theater we feel will be open by September, and after talking to Khaled, that seems reasonable that that'll happen. If so, he has told us that we can have the theater again, as we did before, and so we would run our second Saturdays, September, October, November, December, January, February, 6 months. Second Saturdays for 6 months. And we are also, help me if I'm saying the wrong thing here, so much going around in this mind of mine, talking about having a discussion to follow the films, because we really feel that that makes it different than what you can just sit at home and watch yourself on PBS. So we're looking and exploring. I know Bobby met with Barbara Hirsch, who was the brainchild of having an Arts Ojai Education Committee. So we can't receive Bobby's report on her meeting from Barbara. She showed up here tonight wanting to do her duty, but she looked terrible, and we just all told her to please go home. So we'll hear about it next time.
Can
Linda?
I ask a question?
Sure.
Now, what's the OSA connection? They're gonna organize the
Well,
talks, or?
We were talking about maybe holding informal meetings, and it hasn't been presented to them yet. But the idea that Arts 21 is a way to really immerse artists in current thinking, current art thinking. And it would be very beneficial for this group of professional artists to sort of be immersed in contemporary thought and then have discussions afterwards, like in our private homes.
Oh,
And so
not-
we
not
would
for the
start,
public.
right, not for the public, but for the group itself, that we would be loaned the films to do that.
Right, yeah, it's DVDs, which Barbara has and which PBS gives to us freely for this purpose. So it would be wonderful if somebody offers their home with a large screen TV to sponsor a small or,
Soiree.
medium size, like a
But it would
soiree,
only
like
be
a salon, an art
We
salon,
haven't, I haven't even
talked- this is
talked to
what-
them.
Yeah, these are
They don't
all-
know this, But
what we're
But we
talking
thought, since
about.
we don't have a vehicle right now to show the
On a
films,
screen. Yeah.
maybe to utilize it now, I mean, the main thing is to impact our art culture in Ojai. And I think these films are really vibrant and important to all artists, and especially to the existing artists here in the Valley who don't necessarily get out to the art fairs or to New York and see what's going on in the bigger field.
I don't know if it's, would be open to being used, but the Arts Center has a drop-down screen too.
Right. Well, we talked about that.
Yeah, we discussed all the different places that we might go while the theater is closed, and the Arts Center is pretty expensive, and we don't have a budget for this committee at this point. Well, from what I hear, they don't let you have anything over there. It's always a fee, and it's a hefty fee. So we thought this kind of close salon, art salon kind of way of approaching it would be maybe even more appealing to a particular group of artists, and I don't think they have to be OSA artists, to come together, and then the PBS series actually supplies us for free with discussion guide questions. So we thought that could just be, and then from that, people who are really interested could end up being the panel
Right.
when we go back public, because we'll find people who are like, oh, I would really want to be, I want to lead one of those discussions for the public. So we're really, it's exciting to think.
Cool, okay.
Did we completely drop the meetup idea?
No, that was a good idea. We were talking about doing meetups, but maybe having that at the theater. Maybe that was how we were going to promote the theater.
They
The idea of
educated
creating a
me about
meetup
meetups.
for Art 21, and when the theater opens.
What do you mean meetup, just?
Yeah,
It's
I
a
had to ask that
website
too.
that you join, and it sort of promotes the events. So creating an event.
So like an event on Facebook, the same kind of idea, but?
It's not
Kinda.
Facebook, but it's a web-based social marketing of
Okay.
where to go.
Apparently,
Steve
'cause
McClary just reminded me that the Recreation Center has a screen, so
we
perhaps
discussed that as well. That was one of the
And
places we
discarded it.
talked about, yeah. And we discarded it, yes, for the time being. Because as soon as we knew that we could go back to the Ojai Playhouse, then we came up with this interim idea of doing a small art salon venue with possibly the advertising being through meetups. Apparently, because I didn't know what that was either. I said, what is this? The two of them are, they knew what it was. And apparently, there are several meetup groups that are operating in Ojai, people who get together and discuss books. And you go to the meetup sign and you plug in Ojai and you can find a group, and that's art too, the written word. So it's happening.
Yeah, my only concern would be if we're doing it as a commission, I would feel like it would have to be, wouldn't it have to be public?
It is public.
I do have it, yeah.
Okay.
So
It
that's-
is public.
Yeah, so it wouldn't just be OSA then.
No, the OSA thing was just to give this kind of group access to the films so they could become mentors once
Oh,
the films
okay.
are shown.
So they're
publicly.
gonna launch that, we're not gonna do it.
Right, no.
Okay, cool.
That has nothing
Okay.
to do with us.
Gotcha, okay. Totally confused, but got you now.
Any other questions for Arts Ojai Education Committee? Okay. Now we'll go back to Michael with the Artist Mentor Program, Artist Student Mentor Program.
Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Heather,
Okay,
because Heather is in charge of that program this year because of my commitment
okay.
at the Rubicon.
And before Heather starts, because I'm going to forget this, I thought of it before and I forgot it, so I'm going to say it now. Let's make sure that what we're calling this program is uniform, because I've seen it written about 4 different ways. Sometimes artists with an S, sometimes without the S, sometimes artist/student, sometimes artist-student. And I just think it's good for, what do they call it, branding purposes, to make sure that we all agree on what is the name of this program. And I don't know, Michael, back when I was on that committee, you and I talked about that, but I forgot.
Yeah, I think initially we wanted to make it clear that the program was linking artists and students. So I still hold to the idea that that should be clear in the title. So the artist/student mentor program, to me, makes the most sense, but maybe it's established enough now that if we just call it the artist mentor program, enough people know what it is. Certainly the artist community does.
So is it artist or artists?
I think singular, because we're trying to suggest that there's one artist working as a mentor with
As
the
a
student.
mentor.
We gotta change that.
Okay.
So that's going to now be what we refer to this on the agenda as well. Artist Mentor Program.
Right.
From this day forth.
Okay, yeah, for some reason I thought we had truncated
Wait,
just to
it's
mentor.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure.
Program.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was hearing an S. in
Don't think you need the dash in there.
So it's-
That's the only thing,
So it's fine as it is on the agenda.
without the dash.
Okay,
I
Gotcha.
don't even said it
Got
must be mentor
Program.
program.
Artist Mentor Program. Just Mentor Program?
That's
And
for some reason.
I love it.
discussion.
I would go
That's-
with that.
I think
You think-
to have the word artist in there and to connect with the artist so that the artists have a sense of being the principals in this
Okay.
is important, I think.
The only thing I'm thinking is, and when you refer to it in print, you're gonna say, City of Ojai, mentor program, or City of Ojai Arts Commission mentor program, or City of Ojai Art.
Artist mentor program.
Artist mentor program, yeah.
Okay.
Serving students in the Ojai Valley, if you want to add that parenthetical phrase.
Okay. That rolls
Write
off
that
business
down.
card. I like it.
Okay.
Um,
Hey, Heather, what are you going to do?
So everything's moving forward. The application's online. We've, starting to talk to people, and then it looks like the dates are, the application is due on April 17th, and we're gonna have a meeting with all interested artists, April 6th. Correct. And we're gonna have 4 mentors this year. And, yeah, I think that's pretty much the update.
We have 4 last year?
We had 4,
Yeah.
well, kind of, we had 2 that shared, so.
Oh, right.
So we had but they split it. They didn't, they weren't funded separately. They were funded.
So it was really 3 in terms
No,
of money.
No, it's 4 in terms of money, and then 5 people did it.
Oh, okay.
So 2 people split.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that at the last Education Foundation board meeting, they agreed again to contribute $1,000 to this program. So that fleshes out our budget and importantly makes it a joint program of the two organizations, which I think is very healthy.
Wonderful.
And what are we
Yes.
looking at for a press
Thousand,
release
wow.
for requests for students? When are you going to want that ready?
I think that should go out before their spring break.
I think pretty much as soon as we make the decision, we should just get moving on that.
Okay, so can you give
Don't you
me a
think?
time frame
Yeah.
so I know?
Well, the applications are due on the 17th. So, and do we need to announce those at the meeting before we do anything? Or
What,
can we just?
a meeting of the commission?
Yeah.
No, we just go
So-
forward and do it.
And what is it, the 17th? Does anyone have a calendar? Steve, do you have a calendar?
But you want a press release for your workshop, too,
We already sent one out.
Yeah, there should be one out.
in the
I think
paper?
it's a Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
So my guess is, so if that's a Friday, we'll do sometime during the following week a meeting, and so maybe a week and a half after that?
But, so you want it ready by then, so you should give me the information as soon as you decide.
Exactly.
And then I'll have it ready.
What we'll probably do is, if the applications are due on the 17th, we'll plan a meeting right after that.
Okay, so.
To select the artists,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then we can make that announcement and give the students as much time as we can.
So if I have the PR ready on the 22nd, have it submitted, I want to get it submitted to the paper, so.
Yeah.
if you-
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you want to, that helps. If you call the time frame, we can adjust to that.
So you just let me know as soon as you.
Yeah.
Because I'll pop the names in as soon as you.
Do you have dates for when the student applications will be due and all that yet? Or no, that's,
We do
you're
somewhere.
gonna
I
work
think
that out?
Yeah, we upped everything. I have that at home. I
Okay.
apologize.
All
I
right,
can.
We don't need it tonight,
Yeah.
but you've got it in the works.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
It's already out.
I can write something.
The city was out
Okay,
some time
is
ago.
that it? Okay, you're right back
Is it
on, you
the
can
one
turn that
that's
right back
released
on,
already?
Heather.
Yeah.
City Gallery.
Oh, City Gallery. So we are actually partnering with the studio artists this year, correct? And we are they offer grants to students, and we are going to show the students' work at the gallery. And so that is going to be
Love it.
in May. And so that gives us time to do a reception. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's actually, we're going to hang it May 30th. And the actual reception, and I wish Steve were here, but the reception we're planning for either June 6th or 7th. And that's a weekend, so this will be unprecedented. So what we need to
Wow.
do is actually have one of us here to open up the city hall and monitor the crowds and all that. And so,
And you need to ask Steve about that date, so we can wait till he comes back and.
yeah.
So you're partnering with OSA?
Yeah,
with
and
their-
and the
Yeah.
museum.
So whoever they select to receive the awards, the show will be here.
Right.
I think that's
And
wonderful.
we're timing at the same time where the studio artists are having, well, kind of not exact dates, but around
Yeah,
the
what's
same.
happening is the museum has an annual show of Ojai studio artists. And what's happened in the past, in that very early, we were able to dedicate a small gallery to the student work. But then the Ojai studio artists have gotten so large that we need the entire museum for that. And so the committee that's in charge of the scholarships asked us if there was some way we could display the work. So I suggested that we move that to here.
Great.
So there's going to be, the Ojai studio artists will start April 18th at the museum, and there'll be a gala reception for the studio artists. And then about a month and a half later, we'll have a similar reception for the scholarship students here.
excellent.
Fabulous.
Great.
And will OSA be taking care of any sort of snacks and things like that for this reception? I mean, that will,
Yeah.
they're going
we'll,
to do all that part of it.
We'll have them do that, and they'll also do the publicity and all, too.
And they'll do how fantastic, wow. Do you want to ask Steve about those dates?
Yeah, Steve, one of the things that we wanted to do was to have the OSA scholarship work presented in the gallery, and we wanted to have a reception on either the 6th or 7th of June. here at City Hall, and that's a Saturday and a Sunday. So we wanted to make sure that there wasn't any conflict of what might be on the schedule here. And also, basically, you know, like I could be here and open up, and we could monitor the security of the building during that time.
Okay, June 6th and 7th? And
One
or
of those dates.
One of those,
It could be
okay.
either one of the dates. I think they
Okay.
would like the Saturday date, but
Oh, they want the Saturday?
I think that's what they'd like, but we also have to accommodate the city too, so.
Sure, I'll check. We usually don't have too many things scheduled
Right.
here on the weekends, but I'll have to check that, and I'll be happy to get back to you.
And you don't think they'd have a problem with having us hosting an event here on the weekend? The art commissions, yeah.
Why would they?
Well, they have to have staff up.
No, we could figure that out if we have to, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sometimes they have to hire staff if it's open, but it's Roger. He's like staff. How exciting.
Yeah, I think it would be fun.
Any questions on that?
No, but I do have some additional comments so this is also meaning this show's going to be up for a little bit longer, so I wanted to kind of check with everyone and see if there's any preferences for a reception for this show. The
For the
show
current
that's,
show.
yeah, the current show.
In addition to the one that's going to be held on the 6th or the 7th?
That's for the other.
Yeah, but that's for a different show.
Basically, we have a new show that we haven't publicized yet or had a reception for, which is the
I'm so confused.
previously unshown work from the private collection of.
Oh, are you talking about a reception for our collection, our Muni Art
Right.
collection? Oh, when do we want to have
Yeah,
that?
look,
Well,
then
why
we
don't we
usually-
have it before the Arts Commission meeting at 5 like we've always
No,
done?
no, we would, but
Yeah.
I'm seeing if there's any preferences to what month we do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
March.
March.
We're all for parties.
Can we think about, let's see what
We
press
hold,
releases are
Art
going
Commission
out.
holds the best parties.
Yeah, so I want to contact, well, why don't you and I get together on that and we'll talk about, okay. So it'll either be March or April.
Okay,
Okay.
Good.
you'll let us know.
I will let you know.
So we can be here with bells on and whatever in hand to add to the table of goodies, yes. And of course, we'll need a press release on that too, won't we? Yeah, and keeping that committee busy.
More Prosecco.
Anyone else? Any questions, comments, anything City Gallery before we move on to arts grants? Roger?
Okay, I don't have anything to report. So,
Oh, we love that.
okay.
Public art, that's me. Okay, I'm trying so hard not to overtalk this because I think that when I did that last month, it really complicated things. What the Public Arts Committee is looking for is kind of a thumbs up from the commission to go forward and do what we anticipate will be hours and hours and days of work to prepare for all of you for your consideration whether or not we should be doing something with the site of the Ojai Playhouse. Let me just give you some examples of the things that we have to look into. Whether or not it's necessary that we have or don't have some kind of ordinance that covers mural installation on the site of buildings in the city. That would require Steve and probably council a lot of work. Do you want to comment, Steve, while I'm saying that?
Well, but really, Community Development Department. I was just gonna
Community
add
Development,
to that.
CDD. A lot of hours. We would look into coming back to you with consultants that we've interviewed via phone to find out exactly what they would do, an art consultant. We would, there's so many stones to uncover. Funding is one, whether or not we would want to go for matching funds from Rotary or the civic organization or even private donations, especially now that we know that they're tax deductible. And could really bump up the amount of money that we have for this project. There's just so many things that we have to do to even come forward to you with a solid plan that we're looking for yes, go do all that work and come back to us with with all the information that we need as a commission of 7 to decide if we're going to move forward with this or not. So that's what we're looking for.
If we're going forward with that sort of careful evaluation of all the aspects of the project, I would certainly support it. One thing I would think would be very wise would be to contact the Historical Review Commission,
That's one that's on the
particularly
list.
after the recent, what should we call it?
Debacle.
Situation with the Neff Lounge.
You're much nicer than I am.
But I think that's important. And I also think there should be, before we go further forward, some historical research. Have there ever been any advertisements or murals or anything on the side of that building? In other words, what would best not only enhance the community, but really reflect the integrity of the building? So I would hope that the committee works on those elements as well.
Well, and in respect to that, Michael, and thank you for bringing that up, and that is something that is on the list, is that we would want to contact the Historical Commission on, because that building it's in that book that I'm telling you guys about. The whole thing about the theater building is in there. I just read all about it. That we would want to find out what the history of it is, and as part of the process, we would want to gather, I think, from all of us, a vision for what might go up on that building, and also an idea of how far and wide do we want the PDFs to go. Some people think it should be local. Some people think we should go international. So there's all of this to discuss and debate, all of this to get ready for you behind the scenes and bring forward so that we have some facts and information.
There's
Lots of things.
another issue has occurred to me, and that is I know that a lot of people in Ojai really treasure the look that's been established by the arcade and the whole style, if you will, of the community. And I wonder if there might be significant numbers in the community who would really object to something that would change the character as much as a mural will. In that regard, I wonder if there shouldn't be, I don't know what, some sort of survey or a public meeting to discuss the idea. Maybe that's premature. But I think we need to prepare ourselves for the fact that not everybody is liable to jump up and down and say, what a great idea.
I have 2 comments. One is addressing just what you said. I don't know how long everybody else has lived here, if they remember it, but I remember when that wall was painted purple and there was a...
Oh,
Remember when that...
Sorry.
Well, you weren't here either. MK's was there, the restaurant next to the theater, and they painted the side wall purple and sort of a terracotta color. It actually was real attractive. I mean, it was pretty. It wasn't just bare. But there was an outrage, and it was painted over. I remember that. But that's, that's not really what I was going to... My question is financing, and it's all going to boil back down to financing and whether we have the money in public art funds to call for a large enough, because I think we should make it a call. If we're going to do it, we should do it right and make it a call to any artist that wants to enter. And I think for that kind of a project, you're going to talk some money, and I don't know how much money we have, and I think that should be addressed before you put any more effort in it, where the money's going to come from.
yes, we have a little over $17,000 right now in the Public Arts Fund, and anticipate that number is going to go up to closer to $50,000 within the next couple of months, which it'll take at least that long to prepare a report. And then, as I mentioned, there's also the possibility of looking for support from groups such as Rotary, Civic Association, who might all be very interested in supporting it, as well as private donors. So there's and grants. There's all kinds of ways of looking at it. I will just add that Colette has been approached already by folks who would like to see something go up on the side of that building, and I think it behooves us as the Arts Commission to take the lead on this for the city. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of getting the feeling, but if anybody is really strongly against it, that we can go ahead and spend a lot of time doing the groundwork and come back to you with more specifics and details about how this might all fall out, including that if we don't get a satisfactory proposal, that we know what it's going to cost us for an art consultant who's handled it up to that point, but we might say, we don't have something that is going to fit Ojai and be okay. That could happen as well. So we want to make sure that we uncover, and we appreciate what you're all saying, because we want to uncover all the things we need to look at to come back to you so that you have full information.
So you're not talking about taking any action at all? You're
We
just
can't
saying
take any action. All we can do is work behind the scenes.
concept.
Yeah, on the concept, exactly.
And gather information.
Gather information, a ton of it.
Yeah, I find the money is not, to my mind, a real issue in this. Like, I've been talking around to different artists and things, and we could actually do a mural for 17,000 if we wanted. And I think it depends on the scale that we wanted to go to. If we went with something, say, that was done on a tile base, we have several people that are interested in doing a tile concept. That would be probably considerably more money. So, you know, like I think we could actually do it for 17,000 on a paint basis. That would be a possibility. Or, you know, maybe we go to 50,000 or 100,000, depending on what concepts that we might really want to develop. So we'd be doing an exploratory thing to get concepts, get ideas. I think also to look at, you know, like one approach would be a historical approach like they've done in São Paulo with their murals. But then again, we also have the possibility of doing something which could be very modern or abstract or whatever. But it's one of the most visible sites, and it's really fascinating. Like, I was walking down to the post office today, and you look at that site from the arcade, and, you know, it just speaks of needing something like that there. And so I also want to give kind of a history of, you know, obviously we have to go to the Historic Preservation Commission and see what they think about this. But the history of the theater having been originally built in 1914, and it's gone through renovations probably every 10 years. And, you know, there's times where there's been the facade totally changed. Like, my favorite is in the 1950s when there was a portico out there and a big sign that says Ojai on it. You know, it really identified the community, which there isn't anything quite like that. I just found some new pictures of that, probably from about the 70s or so, that had a brick front that was just horrendously horrible. There was also a period where it was decorated with tartans. So it's really, I should put together maybe a little slideshow or something to show you what these things, and particularly when we talk to the historic preservation people, because you can't say that there was only one way the place was unless you want to go back to the 1914, which was a very primitive kind of a walk-in storefront that showed movies and whatever. So I think it's a really exciting project, and I would appreciate your support to go ahead with it.
Amen.
Okay, so we're not going to take a formal vote on this. I think I'm kind of getting that you all now understand better what it is that we just wanted to have a thumbs up to go ahead on because of the work involved with it.
Amen.
So I'm
Go.
getting a nod.
Who's doing the work? Is it Public
It will be the Public Arts Committee, which is Pamela, Roger, and myself doing that. So we didn't have a formal meeting this month because we kind of already had this discussion, but going to put our ducks in a row on coming back and seeing if we could do a better job in explaining what we were looking for from the rest of you. Okay, so that's that report.
Madam Chair?
Appointments to committee to approve public art CAPA. Let me give you a little background why this is the item, the agenda was
Roger has a question.
changed. I'm sorry, somebody has a question.
Roger. I'm sorry, Steve, rather.
Sorry, on the last item, I just wanted to, I feel remiss if I didn't make this comment. It's just staff has not done any research onto this, so we don't know what possible unknowns are out there. So we'll certainly work with the Public Art Committee on that, so.
Yeah, and that's the first step is,
but,
will
you
the
know,
ordinance allow this to happen at all? And what are the
what would be
trickle-down
the
effects?
steps in the process and all
Trickle
that,
down.
so.
But I think we can make it happen. Okay, back to CAPA. CAPA is the Committee to Approve Public Art, and if you want to know more about CAPA, you can read about it in the art ordinance. The reason the agenda was modified was that this needed to be on there. The only thing that you didn't hear about from me. The inn was issued a building permit and went ahead with the Neff Lounge rehabilitation prior to completing the required public art steps. So they,
Madam Chair, I actually have a report that I'd like to give on that to give some clarity on the facts regarding
can
that.
I just want to move to the CAPA part first, though. So
Sure.
then can we go back to that when we're done with the CAPA?
Yeah,
Would that
but,
work for you?
yeah, but there was a statement that was just made that I don't think is quite accurate.
Okay, go
So,
ahead.
Just because the Neff Lounge is actually exempt from the public art requirement. That's one of the things I wanted to address in my report, so.
So there will not be public art in the Neff Lounge, you're telling me?
Would you like me to hear the report first? It might be
Yes,
helpful.
I think maybe you better give that report first, because that's sure news to me.
Hang on. So, as you're probably all pretty well aware, the inn had applied for a remodeling permit back in the fall. The project includes the Neff Lounge, the lobby, the restaurant bar, and the pool. The Neff Lounge is exempt from the public art requirements because of its historic status. The remainder of the project is not. Prior to the issuance of the building permit for the lobby and the restaurant bar, staff did not inform the inn of the public art requirements. That was staff's mistake. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. The inn was not told it was exempt from the public art requirements, other than the Neff Lounge, which, as I stated, is exempt due to its historic landmark status. Nor did the inn ever assert it was exempt or ask for any exemption. I just want to make that clear on behalf of the inn. On January 22nd, the city's building official determined the project would be valued at $2.224 million. So the public art value requirement for the applicable part of the project has been calculated to be $32,240. 2% on the first $1 million and 1% on the balance. The inn was informed at that time of the public art requirement, and the inn representative said they would comply with the requirements. On January 29th, as a show of good faith, since the building permit had already been issued for the lobby and the restaurant bar, the inn agreed to make a deposit to the city of $32,240 to be held in the public art fund until the inn has complied with the public art requirements. On January 30th, your Chair Golden met with representatives of the inn to go over the options for the public art. And as recently as last week, I had a discussion with Brian Skaggs with the Ojai Valley Inn, who confirmed the inn's commitment to abiding fully with the city's public art requirement, and that a proposal will be forthcoming.
Well, I really do have to say I feel a little blindsided not to have received that information prior to tonight's meeting, because this item that we changed the agenda for was to appoint somebody to a committee to approve the public art at the Neff Lounge. So am I hearing you correctly?
I think you're mixing up the issues here.
Am I?
The project, which includes the Neff Lounge, the lobby, the restaurant bar, and the pool, that's the entire project.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that, the only part that is exempt from the building valuation calculation for the public art is the Neff Lounge. So the pool, lobby, restaurant, bar, that is all applicable to the public art requirement. And that is why, then that has that, that is how the
Very
total.
confusing to me. Are you saying the physical site of the Neff Lounge is exempt?
Because it's a historic landmark,
Right.
correct?
So, but the rest of the project falls under. So
that's
they
correct.
wanted to put, because, you know, I also met at your request with Brian Skaggs and Alex. Are you saying that, because when they talked to me, they said they wanted to do art on a particular wall of the Neff Lounge. They cannot do that there?
No, I think we're mixing things up here.
Does somebody else understand this?
Understand what he's saying? He's saying that the total amount that they are owing for public art is $32,240. That's how much.
And now recall,
They've agreed to that. The city's got the money as a deposit until it's fulfilled, and then when they fulfill the public art, I imagine you'll release the.
we would
Yes.
release that
So-
if that's correct.
All right, so that part I got. What I don't understand is, are you saying the art cannot happen in the Neff Lounge?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
They could choose where they cite that art as long as
Including the
it-
Neff Lounge, because that's where they
Certainly.
wanted to put the
That's
piece.
correct.
Okay, so we really, this is no different.
That's correct.
Okay, so all of this really doesn't change anything?
No, it
Okay,
does not.
thank you.
I was hoping to bring further clarification and not create
All right,
confusion.
thank you, Steve.
A question, if I may. You said they will be submitting a proposal. By that, did you mean a proposal for the public art that they would like to?
That's correct, right.
Okay.
And we don't know what
So-
that is
So
yet.
we don't know whether they're going to propose something specific, or whether they're going to say, take that $32,000 and put it in the public art fund.
That's absolutely correct.
So
They have,
Until we get a proposal from them, we're in limbo, essentially. Not in limbo, we just have to wait until they submit a proposal.
That's
And then we
correct.
will know whether or
Yes.
not we have that money
Yes.
available for our purposes, or whether they are going to propose a piece of site-specific art.
Yes.
absolutely.
Now, I can tell you that I met with Brian Skaggs, and I met with, what's Alex's last name? I can't think of it. Well, the director of the inn, the executive director of the inn. I met with them.
Kim?
Thank you, Alex Kim. And their intention was very specific and very clear. They already have picked out an artist. They know exactly what they want to do, and they have a wall in the Neff Lounge where they want to put it. So you're absolutely right. We don't have the application in hand yet. However, they were handed, I handed them I have one. The rest of you don't have them because there's one more thing that we have to look at before we pass it out to you. But the Public Art Program Developers Guidelines, and during our meeting, we went over exactly what they needed to do for option 2, because that's what they were interested in, which is putting art up on site. So I'd be very surprised to see that they would change their mind at this point. They seem very specific about what they wanted.
Nothing ever surprises me until it comes in.
That's true. That's true. But given that, one of the things that I know the city is concerned about, or at least it was in the past, is that the process that the commission has developers go through by vis-a-vis the ordinance doesn't slow down things, doesn't create the impression that all work has to stop because these steps haven't been followed. And one of the steps that has to happen once the inn fills out the application and does go forward with selecting an art piece as opposed to giving money, is to have the Committee to Approve Public Art convene and vet what they want to do, make sure it's in compliance with the code, all the things that that committee does. And you'll remember Susan, Barbara, and Mimi working on what at the time was called Park.
Right.
It got changed to Kappa. So I do not want to find out in 2 weeks that the inn has submitted a proposal and is ready to meet with Kappa, but we haven't formed Kappa. Kappa consists of the 3 members of the Public Art Committee, which would be Roger and Pamela and myself, 1 member of the Planning Commission, who is appointed by the Planning Commission, and 1 member of the community who is an public art expert. And what I asked Steve to do to amend the agenda was to allow us tonight, the Public Arts Committee, to bring forward a name for you, Mimi Moore, and have her in the hold to serve as that 5th person, so that when the inn is ready to go, there is no delay, that we're just ready to move forward with them. We can call the Kappa meeting. We don't have to wait for the March meeting of the commission. We don't have to wait for the April meeting or call a special meeting. So that's what I'd like to do. Now, may I make that motion myself, Steve?
You certainly may.
Okay. Thank you.
It's, you certainly may do so.
Okay. So I would like to move that Mimi Moore is asked if she'd be willing to serve on Kappa for the possibility that the Ojai Valley Inn and Spa will need that group to meet and work with them on their public art piece. So we'll have her in the pokey, so to speak. So we need a second.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, any
Question,
discussion?
When someone is appointed to the committee, does the ordinance specify what the term of the appointment is then?
Just as long as that committee needs to meet with the developer, then it's
So
over, it's
it
ad
just
hoc.
relates, so it's an ad hoc committee? then?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, it's not permanent. In fact, we would always look for variety in who gets appointed to that committee down the road. But this time, Mimi just made a lot of sense to us.
Mhm.
She knows the code,
Right.
in and out. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Bill.
Mr. McClure, 'cause I'm so happy you're moving forward and getting this group put together, CAPA. I'm so happy you're putting CAPA together, but I have a question for Mr. McClary. The Planning Commission's meeting in early March has been canceled. They're off in training. Their next meeting is later in March. Is the absence of a Planning Commission appointment in any way in hindrance to this group starting its procedures?
I had the same question, and I made a note here. I'll have to check with them. They previously had appointed Commissioner John Merck to the Public Art Committee, so I don't know if that would still consider to stand or not, but I made the same note here to check with the Planning Commission.
I'm sure that the commission would not want that to be inhibit their being able to proceed with the review.
I picked up on that too. Thank you.
And they could certainly call a special meeting just to make that appointment, if they needed to.
They can, but I'm just want to make, they canceled their meeting in March. They're in training in March.
Aren't we all? Okay.
Duly noted, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, let's have voice vote on this. Okay with everybody? All those in favor of asking Mimi to do this?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, terrific. That makes me feel really good. We'll be able to move forward if and so we are needed.
I do have one question concerning that, and I don't know if it's the time to raise it now or not. I
Sure.
don't want to take time that it's not the time. We had this situation with the public art, if you recall, with Seafresh, where they put the paintings inside, and we were all, it was after the fact, and it was not what we wanted, and it happened anyway.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between them putting their stuff inside the restaurant and the Ojai Valley Inn putting a piece of artwork in their lobby, where it's on a private road with a valet parking lot?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
The code specifies that it has to be in a public lobby that's accessible at least 8 hours a day and visible from the nearest right-of-way. I would
Where's the nearest
contend
right-of-way?
you can drive into the inn and you can enter the lobby. It's a public lobby, much like any other McDonald's or any place like that.
Yes, and that came up at my meeting with both gentlemen. And I can tell you that absolutely the Neff Lounge does fulfill what it
Fulfill it.
says here in the code. Available for public viewing from the nearest public right-of-way or open to the public, or open to the public. There's an or there. Open to the public for a minimum of 8 hours per workday. Interior spaces may be eligible if they are accessible to the public, a minimum of 8 hours and visible from the nearest public right-of-way. So it qualifies.
Okay, by the law, it qualifies.
Yeah.
I just have some reservations, seeing as though it is very exclusive and very removed from most of the population of Ojai, and we are a city-funded, and it is city applied tax. So I'm just making my reservations.
Yes,
now.
we'll just all have to make sure that we get over to the Neff Lounge and imbibe. We can see the art.
It'll be on our public art slideshow too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for that. Other committee activities, I do have more. There is more. This is a question for you, Steve. Do we have any update on, was the Community Development Director able to contact
Well,
Mark Whitman
I can
about
give a
Pearl
report
Street?
on the public art at this point.
Okay, why don't you do that, and then that probably shortened my questions.
So, as promised, we're actually working through a lot of this right now, and a lot of it's in flux right now, but we're working to try to improve this. What I'm talking about is the whole public art process in terms of how it works through Community Development Department. As a result of that, we're taking a look at a lot of this with fresh eyes. And part of that is we've revised the public art requirement list. You'll notice this looks a little different from the report that you've received in the past. And this may be a bit of, it's more information that you've received in the past, but I think it paints a more comprehensive picture and maybe also helps answer some of the, well, I'm seeing this project and why is this project not subject to public art, or are you aware of this? So You know, the one really only spoke to the things that were confirmed, and I think this gives a better look at all the projects that have come in through. So you can see right at the top there, 2015, we've got the projects that are being tracked, and you can see there's the 4 different aspects of the Ojai Valley Inn project, with the Ojai Valley, the Neff Lounge being the second one, and indicating that it is exempt per section 4-16.205. And so it also gives some other single-family homes that were done in previous years and indicates, you know, that those were exempt. Turning to the back of the page, we are still waiting for, well, on the Mallory Way, that one is really quite a ways off. They don't even have a map at this point, so we don't anticipate anything happening soon with that. That may be quite a ways down the road. The Craftsman Village, that's the one that Chair Golden is asking about. We are still waiting to hear back from the applicant, so the ball remains in their court on that. And then also we have listed down below upcoming projects which may qualify for public art. So these are ones that we're actually looking at right now at the staff level to determine if they are subject to the requirements or not. And that is the Toba Mountain Winery and the Wild Tennis Academy. And as soon as we have a determination on that, we will update the list and let you know.
And just to clarify that thank you, Steve, and this is terrific. Thank you for this, or thank Kathleen for this.
Yeah, really,
It's from
Kathleen should be.
But this is great. It really gives a nice overview of what's going on in the city. Just in reference to our public commenter, Linda Epstein, that is the Wild Tennis Academy that she was talking about, and I believe she was referring to an objection that the Wilds put forward that, let me give you a little history, and Steve, I know you're going to jump in here, this is what's happening tonight, and correct me, but my understanding is that the Wilds initially applied for doing something, and I could be wrong on this, but I thought it was long before the new art ordinance came into being.
That's correct.
And under the old art ordinance, the one that Susan and Mimi and Barbara worked so hard to amend, under that old art ordinance, all educational institutions were exempted. Under the new ordinance, only public school, OUSD, is exempted. Private schools are not exempted. Therefore, when Wild Tennis Academy reapplied after January 2014 for a conditional use permit, affectionately referred to as a CUP, when they did that, the clock began to roll for them as of that date, and they were told by the interim lawyer, Mr. Howard, that they now must do public art, and that we're waiting for a decision on that, I believe. We're waiting to find out if that interpretation by Mr. Howard is the correct one.
That's correct.
Yeah. So did I get it right? Woohoo!
Pretty much. And again, I don't think I could speak this as well as the community development director. It's not so much a CUP. I think the question is, has their project been modified enough from the original project to change it? But I don't want to muddy this up. I'll leave that legal stuff to the city attorney to review it and determine that on the code. Yes. So
that being said, and taking comments into account that were made tonight, it is my wish as an arts commissioner that public art be part of this project. I can't think of anything, and I remember Susan talking about this, I can't think of anything better for students who are being educated, but to be exposed to public art. And so I'm hoping that the decision will move forward, that indeed they do need to put some public art up, because that's why I'm here, to advocate for the public art. So we'll see what happens. When are we going to know this? When is that going to,
I don't, I
We don't
can't,
have a
I don't know
timeline on
yet.
it.
Hopefully soon.
but
I know they're-
hopefully soon, because they're moving forward,
They're
aren't
working
they?
on it.
Yes,
They're actively
yes.
working on it.
Yes. And the question about Craftsman Village was whether or not Mark Whitman had been contacted with, I had sent over to you a application for option 1, which he verbally has told me more than once. In fact, Michael was present at one time when we talked about it, that the owner is very excited to contribute to the Public Art Fund. So I had sent you, I didn't know who to send it to Kathleen or you, but it's an application that if they filled it out, doesn't probably mean anything more than the paper it's written on, but it does show that they want to go in that direction.
I do not know.
Okay, because that would be the next thing that I would ask you to see if you can help me figure that out. Or I'm happy to take it to Mark and have him, and give it to him.
Okay, we can talk about it.
So let me know what you want to do, because it'd be nice to know.
I have a question on this new form.
Mm-hmm.
So this means that on this side is the ones that have been, how much whether or not they come under the art ordinance and whether exempt or not. I understand that part. And the second section, these projects haven't even broken ground yet. Is that appropriate? It says projects approved subject to public art.
They're not in the-
and in building permit process.
Right.
They have not broken ground.
That's my understanding.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
know. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and as a matter of fact, Linda, I went and looked, and it actually has a for sale sign on it. It's a big field with a for sale sign on it. So they haven't. Unless they did it within the last week and a half, they haven't. And I don't think they have.
Now, we might be waiting for some time on that, but who knows?
And I think in closing, I just want to say that I'm glad that the city is doing everything that it can to help all the parties involved to understand that there is a new art ordinance that requires action on the part of developers before they're issued a building permit. Before they're issued a building permit. And hopefully, so that the ordinance doesn't become just a ridiculous thing that no one's paying any attention to, that our work to keep tabs on this will be actually appreciated, because it was all done with the idea in mind that the developers would benefit and the project would benefit by having planned the artwork to be an integral part of the entire development.
And isn't it true now
That's my
that
speech.
there's a process in place where when a developer initiates a project, they are given the information about this?
Yeah, and we're still fine tuning that, and getting that all finished.
But at
That's-
least they are appraised of the reality from the beginning now.
That's the packet that I hope
Right.
that will be ready for you next time, and that's the packet that I gave to the inn, the Public Art Program Guidelines for Private Developers that Barbara and I and Steve worked on all summer, so that they actually have layman's terms and can actually follow it along and see if you're doing this, these are the steps you need to take. So yes, the answer is yes to that. Phew! Okay, budget update, Mr. McClary.
I don't think I have too much new there. In fact, it's really the same report that was presented at the last meeting, because I haven't had any budget activity. So I'm happy to take any questions. And of course, we're also listing the Public Art Fund balance on there, which is currently $17,400 and change.
So would you say that again, please?
Sure. The Public Art Fund currently has a balance of $17,438.69.
I see it down there, okay. So there's been the art grants.
The art grants those were distributed in early January.
But that amount is showing as being remaining on my budget sheet. Updated January 7th, 2015. It says amount remaining $15,200.
I don't think you're referring to the one in the packet.
The one in the packet is dated.
Oh, there's one in the packet. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. So everybody, if you don't mind, you should take the one in the packet, wherever it is, and slip it on top of the one in your handy-dandy little book. So in the back of your book are lists. And you have a sheet, the plastic sheet with the budget. And now you take the January 20th budget, and it goes right on top, so you have the current budget. Hot diggity dog. Can you tell I was an elementary school teacher? Don't you know, can you just see me doing this with my sixth graders? Everybody open your book and put that
The
sheet in
words out
there.
of my mouth.
Yeah, and there you go. So there you go. Everybody put it in there now, and then you'll have it. I'm going to give you stars on your chart, on your star chart for this. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Phew. All right. And I think I'm going to put my project sheet right in there, too.
So just remember, Chair Golden, then the other item under this was
Yes.
just on the, okay, to begin the discussion on the next year's budget.
Say it again.
I'm sorry. And then the other item, as part of this agenda item, is we have on there to begin discussion for the fiscal year 15-16 budget.
Yes. Can we move that to next month?
Certainly.
Because I believe that we're going to be doing an election of officers, and that really should fall into the chair, the current chair.
Yeah, I would say we actually had it on early, which is good to start thinking about it. So, and of
Think
course,
about budget.
it comes up quickly.
Yeah. So everybody note that next month, we're going to really get into some heavy duties on budget. And I know there are a couple committees who have worked without a budget this fiscal year with the city and want to come now to us with suggestions for budget. So if you're one of those committees, heads up that you want to come, not just with the amount you want, but a breakdown of what you want to do with that money, so that when whoever the chair is goes before city council, they're able to answer questions about how the money is going to be used.
I have a question about the standing committees versus ad hoc committees and how that works with their budget, too. So should I just talk to you afterwards, Steve?
Sure.
But off the top of my head, I would say that there's no difference with
I think
budget.
the difference really is in the noticing
Yeah.
and the
It's the Brown
agendas, not necessarily the budget.
If we have a budget, we have to notice it, isn't that standing?
No, you could have a committee it's really whether it has a continuing subject matter. But if you had an ad hoc committee that was, figure out how you're gonna spend $500 to support something, you could have an ad hoc committee that did that.
So could the PR committee have a budget and still be ad hoc?
I'm not sure why the PR committee is an ad hoc.
Because the PR committee sits in front of a computer and works on the website, and how do you post?
Well, I don't think we should bog down here in the meeting on that.
Yeah.
The real issue there is whether it's
Yeah.
there for
It's a one-time
definitive
expenditure.
purpose or single purpose, or
fine.
whether it's an ongoing responsibility.
Yes. Okay. So let's move on to, if we're done with that, let's move on to election of officers.
Are you looking to me to do that?
Well, what you would do would be you would nominate someone or anyone for the chair position, and then after that, we'll move to vice chair.
So if you'd like, I'll be happy to facilitate that.
Thank
I turn
you,
on my
Steve.
microphone.
Would you please? Thank you.
So the way that the process that I've used in the past, if everybody's okay with this, is we'll open the floor to anybody on the commission who would like to make a nominee for a chair, and then once you feel like sufficient time has been given, anybody may make a motion to close the nominating period, and then second that, and then you can close the nominating period, and then you could entertain a vote on your nominees.
I would like to nominate Michael Addison for the role of chair.
I second that.
So at this point, we're just asking for any names. So right now, we have Michael Addison. Is there anybody else?
I would actually love to have you continue. I've really loved the vitality and the passion that you brought to this, and your talk before the city council I thought was absolutely magnificent the other night when you were here. And so if you're at all willing, I would love to see you continue.
I appreciate that, Roger, but I will withdraw my name. I'm ready for someone else to steer the ship. But thank you.
Any other member of the commission would like to make a nominee? If not, you may certainly, somebody could make a motion to close the nominations.
Okay, I nominate we close the, I close the things, please.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Conrad to close the nominations. Do we have a second for that?
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor of closing the nominations, I'll still say we have two names, Commissioner Addison and Commissioner Golden, even though Commissioner Golden has stated that she would like to withdraw. All those in favor of closing the nominations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now if somebody would like to make a motion to elect either one of those nominees for chair, they may do so at this time.
I move to elect Michael Addison as chair. I'm ready to hand him the gavel.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before a vote? Okay, all those in favor of selecting Michael Addison as chair of the Ojai Arts Commission by voice vote, please?
Aye.
Harmon?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I
Okay.
abstain.
Okay, so it's a unanimous aside from one abstention and one absence, so
May we make comments?
certainly.
Okay. I have a couple comments to make. First of all, thank you all for putting up with me for 2 years as I tried to fill some very big shoes once Barbara and Mimi and Susan left the commission. I really felt the weight of the public art fall on my shoulders. And that chair position that I have as chair of public arts is really taking up all the time. So I really am looking forward to passing over this position to Michael, because Michael is fair, clear, spoken, and eloquent. I think he's going to lead a very tight meeting, and I think he's going to be a real asset for the commission in leading the meeting. So I welcome the opportunity to hand him these two little devices here. And I relish handing him these two devices. And Michael, why don't you go ahead and finish out the meeting?
Well, I'm going to start off by thanking you. I think one can only echo what Roger has said, and that is that the energy and focus and passion that you've brought to the commission for the past 2 years has been remarkable. I don't know that I can in any way master the level of detail that you particularly seem to have been able to grapple with. But at the same time, I'm very pleased to do it because I believe in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think we all do. And I think that there's a lot of energy on the commission right now. We have some marvelous new members, and those of us who are continuing will bring a certain body of information. And I hope we're not a drag on the energies that the new members are going to bring. So that will be one of my goals, is to really grab a hold of all the energy we can and continue on the sleigh ride. And that being said, I'll turn it back to Steve to conduct the continuing election.
Well, that's your responsibility. I'd be happy to. Although I'd be happy to,
Then
but really.
I will open the floor to nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Linda Harmon for vice chair.
I'll second that.
We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I was going to close the nomination.
I have a move to close the nomination. Is there a second for the move to close the nomination?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on closing the nominations? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Linda, you and I have,
Congratulations.
we have entered the labyrinth.
I have a question.
You should really make a second motion to appoint her, since you only made the
I guess I
motion
better
to-
do that.
Sorry.
Linda, you are
Appointed.
now appointed vice
Okay.
chair.
I have a question, though, because I have been on for a long time. Roger, you've been on for a long time. Are you sure you don't want to be vice president?
I'm in a position
I know, it's silly.
of having experienced the marvelous job Susan did, and then Barbara, and now Christine, and my position's changing at the museum, and I really don't have time to do this, so I would have declined had I been asked. Thank you.
Well, my concern is that I've been on so long that I think we need some new blood coming in And
I think that's why you'll be good.
It's too late, Linda.
It's too late.
You're at.
I'm,
Discussion already.
all right.
I'm told, however,
You'll
that
be
we do
wonderful.
need to take a vote on Linda Harmon as vice chair. So all in favor of Linda Harmon as vice chair?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is so moved. Linda, you are now vice chair. You and I will meet regularly, at least every 6 months.
That's how Michael and I did.
Yeah. Is there any other business? Commissioner comments, I think, is the next item on the agenda. Linda, you want to start off?
Well, yeah, I'd like to ask, we haven't, Susan did such a great job for so many years. And then and then Barbara was vice chair. And it's that's one of the things I was hesitant about taking vice chair, because I think it's like a good proving ground for a person to be president. And I don't know that that's going to be a few years ahead, and I don't know if I'm still going to be here by then. But is there any kind of protocol for how long we elect officers for? Or is it just, how does that work, Steve?
It's been 1 year. We've been doing
One
doing
year.
it annually.
Okay, all right, that was my question. So it can change every year we want, or it
Yep.
doesn't have to change? Okay, or it does change, we elect every year,
We
but
have
the
elections
term-
every year, and the term is for 1 year.
Okay, all right.
Roger, any comments from you this evening?
Yes, I first want to say I appreciate the inn advancing the $32,000, but I find it very ironic that they managed to be dismissed from paying on the Neff Lounge when they're dismantling it as a historic.
I know.
Yeah, it just seems kind of bizarre, It's kind of like that old joke where the fellow kills his parents and then, that. So,
What's the punchline?
okay. Well, the punchline is that he goes on mercy that he's an orphan. Right. So
Okay.
anyway.
Heather, any comments?
I do. It's more of a question. Is there, especially now that there's going to all the research for the mural project, is there a way to streamline it that people can communicate, or what are the guidelines for communicating through email? So we don't have, like,
The Brown Act.
yeah, so the committees don't have to do physical meetings that last long periods of times, or it can be brief emails that are sent and answered. What are the guidelines for that? Because it seems like with this undergoing, this could be
Well,
a lot of meetings.
the issue there is it's a Brown Act thing, and the idea is to not have a discussion which involves a majority of the commission on something that involves the commission business. And the reason for that is so that the public has an opportunity to participate in that discussion, because obviously discussions have a big impact on decisions. Even if the public is there when the final decision is made, a lot of times the lead into that can be made during the discussion. So that's why, like, for example, tonight, there was the discussion about, do we want to put this on the next agenda to talk about moving some money around to pay for this? So you do have to be very careful with email communications. You want to avoid getting into a daisy chain situation where, one commissioner talks to another commissioner and they have a conversation about something and they share an opinion, which is fine. That's permitted under the Brown Act. And then you go and one of those commissioners then has a conversation with another commissioner and shares what they talked about. Well, at that point, you've now involved 3 people. Well, what tends to happen is then the other commissioner, who was a part of the original conversation, goes off and talks to yet a 4th commissioner, and at that point, you've now involved a majority of the commission in the discussion, and that we have to avoid.
What if
the Brown Act.
conversations, though, do stay between committees?
The 3 people.
Say that
Yeah.
again, Heather. I had heard.
If there's a way to keep email conversations or change just in the committees, because usually that's what happens. That anyway, it's like when we have meetings, the conversations are really between committee members.
You can limit your communications to basically, when are we going to meet, or what are we going to talk about on the next agenda without getting into the merits of it. Hey, I'm thinking about calling a committee together, and these are the 4 items that I wanted to have on the agenda. And then you could have a dialogue back and forth. Well, I don't really think it's ready to talk about blank, but I want to talk about another issue. Okay, let's put that on the agenda and email it out to people. But then when you actually have the discussion, the dialogue, you can't do that by email. You got to actually have a meeting.
So you can set an agenda.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment about all of this. And Steve and I have arm wrestled over this before, because I really don't agree with the way the Brown Act is being interpreted for our committees, because our committees are made up of 3 people. They can make no decisions. They can only get together and talk about the work that committee does, and then come back and report in public in front of the TV to all of us on what the work is, and fill us in on everything. And it's in public. There's total transparency. It has really hampered the work of the Arts Commission to have been told a year and a half ago, because prior to that, we were free to meet. The 3s, because it's not a majority of the commission. You cannot, as the 3 of you, come make a decision and move forward on it. You've got to come to us and give us your thinking. We all discuss it, and any kind of voting happens here in public. So I'm hoping that a miracle will drop out from the sky in the form of an attorney that the city hires, because they're looking for a new attorney, who will say, oh, no, relax, guys. It's okay. We understand you're working hard and we don't want to get in your way, which is what this interpretation has done. And I think to no good purpose. So I want to say that, and now that I'm not chair, I also want to say these 2 words: civil disobedience.
Well, and I'd like to remind everybody that you took an oath of office, that you're going to uphold the laws of the state of California.
Yes, we could go to jail.
So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter if we're working hard or not.
I think we do have to accept the fact that the city attorney has made this ruling, and that's the way we have to operate. It may annoy the hell out of us, but nevertheless, that's the way we will continue to operate until we hear a different decision from the city attorney.
Yeah, I guess
Heather?
my concern is, we're all, this volunteer positions, and we're all very busy. And it just, looking ahead, all the research and everything that is going to go on with the mural project could be very overwhelming.
Can we
for
send
the people?
Well, I'd be one to tell you,
I know.
I've spent more time than anybody in this room complying with the Brown Act over the last 17 years. And I could tell you the long list of things that I could probably have accomplished on behalf of the cities that I work for, while not working on Brown Act things. But again,
Yeah.
that's what we do. So
I have one more question that relates to the Brown Act, which is, now, on this committee that they're going to have, can they send information on the email as long as it's not a discussion?
absolutely.
Yeah, so you could assign.
You can share information, and you can communicate with one other person, I think, is the basic sort of ground rule. But you can't start a chain conversation.
So you
But you can certainly share information. So if one of you has been asked to pursue the whole question of previous things on the side of that building, that information could be shared, for example.
ahead of the meeting.
Right, ahead of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the discussion.
But the actual discussion, particularly if it's a standing committee, that's the crucial differentiation. If it's an ad hoc committee, that's a one-of-a-kind committee, and the
And it's
Brown
in
Act
here.
still applies, does
Still
it not?
applies. They just don't
But
have
it
to
doesn't
post
have
it.
to be noticed
Okay.
when you
So-
actually have the committee meeting.
And that's going to be an ad hoc committee, right?
No, that's the public art.
What's going to be
that's
in
the
our?
public art
No,
committee,
the
which is a
Public Art
standing
Committee is a standing
Yeah,
committee.
so any meeting the public art committee has will have to be fully noticed.
Yeah.
But
Any
shared-
meeting it has to discuss things that fall under the Brown Act, but we can also communicate on information with each other
You
that is
can
not.
share
yes,
information,
That's right.
yes.
And then we don't have to call a noticed meeting.
Right.
So I shared information with Pamela, I shared information with Roger, because there's no reason to get together other than to say,
Right.
this is what I'm going to be reporting on.
Right.
So we did that, and I
Okay,
didn't want to
Heather,
send emails.
Do you have any other comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to say one other thing too, which is in your little booklet that under the thing that says Brown Act, it's the second one down, committees subject to the Brown Act. I gave an example there of how the Lifetime Achievement in the Arts Award meets once to bring forth a slate of candidates, and then it doesn't meet again with respect to that task, so we called that ad hoc committee. We did the same thing with City Gallery. It meet once to go, and I had a fight for this. I met with the city, I met with these guys and said, please don't make us have to post a meeting on the outside of an artist's door
Okay.
when we're picking out artwork.
Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
Pamela, you have any comments?
No, fun today.
I do.
And now, Ms. Golden,
I do.
you have a comment.
I do. Some of you didn't get all the sheets you needed. So I have them here, sheets that you were missing from last time. Many of you didn't get the current Arts Commission programs, page 2. Roger, Linda, Michael, I think you didn't get it. And only thing is, I forgot to stick it in my 3-hole puncher.
Could I ask
Is there
that
one
that can
handy?
wait till our next meeting? Could we pass those
Well,
out
I
at
just
our
want
next
people to
meeting?
know that after the meeting, they can get these from me.
Fine.
I don't want to keep carrying them around. So
Okay,
after the
good.
meeting, come and get what you need from me. Okay?
Good. Any further comments or discussions? Do we have any comment from our city councilor, please?
And I will be mindful of the time, but I just wanted to start out by saying I'm kind of thrilled. You're the stewards of embarking on a new heritage at the public art program here in Ojai. You know, nothing less than that. And I think that's wonderful. And I'm going to step up and say something that it's due to your efforts as well. You know, it is important that the commissioners, which are basically all the commissions are extensions of the council. We depend on you to watch what's going on in your area of focus. And it's because of your efforts, not just solely because of your efforts, but your efforts were definitely contributory to getting this report, which I do commend Kathleen for putting together. It's the perfect kind of report that we should have, with the listing of the status and the submittal dates and the citations as to where the exemption is based on. And hallelujah. This ordinance went into effect over a year ago, and I think it's at least partially due to the efforts of this commission. You know, pushing staff, in the right way, that we're at a better place now. And I just want to commend you for that effort and say it's an example of how the commissions, all of them, in my opinion, should operate. And I know we've actually had a discussion of this when, at the last council meeting, former Chair Golden got up and spoke and added to the list of all of the things that the council was saying, you know what, staff, what about that? What about that? What about that? And it's important. You know, we have a very small staff. We have, at the same time, a pretty expansive code and a very ambitious city. And frankly, it takes the communication between council and commissions to make sure that we follow the code, and that we work with staff in terms of getting the procedures in terms of implementing the code straight. And ultimately, that makes us all more productive and spending less time going, why didn't that happen and why didn't this happen? It starts leading to an outcome rather than a constant discussion about process. So I just wanted to say I just really am thrilled that this commission seems to have really stepped up and taken seriously its responsibility to the citizens, ultimately, of the city, to make sure you look at the code, you have your responsibilities in the code, and you take them seriously, and you aren't afraid to ask staff, what's going on here. When you have any questions about why maybe the code doesn't seem to be followed, and as Mr. McClary pointed out, he said, yep, staff made a mistake on issuing a building permit in advance of going through the public art approval process. And it's partially because of your efforts that lessons been learned and procedures have improved. So thank you. And, don't be shy about this. I mean, because ultimately, if commissioners feel that something isn't being handled properly, please feel that, come to council with it. If you feel like there's any frustration with the staff, please, please feel free. Please, I urge you to communicate through a commissioner presentation to the council, through a letter that you draft and approve and communicate to the council. It's important. And I think that what you've demonstrated tonight is and what Steve McClary has talked about here is an example of how that should happen. And I know I'm starting to be redundant because I'm just really happy about seeing how all this has worked out. I mean, when I came in and saw this, I was like, great, And I just want to give an example of again, why this is important. And for example, you talked about the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm really happy that this commission wants to reach out, wants to make sure it's included. That's the way the commission should be communicating with one another. And last night we had a situation where there's kind of a confusion about the handling of nomination for a property for landmark status. Staff got a little sideways on it. And there is a provision in the code where once the Historic Preservation Committee nominates a property for landmark status, that nomination cannot be withdrawn by the applicant. It has to go to City Council. And if you think about it, it makes a little bit of sense. Because in fact, also, a property can be landmarked without necessarily having property owner concurrence. And if you think about that, that makes a certain amount of sense. They can certainly appeal and object, but the point is that there had been kind of a practice built up, or a custom, if you will, of saying, well, if the owner wanted to withdraw, then it wasn't considered a valid nomination anymore. Well, that's simply not true. And we got that corrected last night at Planning Commission. Now, we still are going to work through this issue, at the because it's going to be on the agenda for discussion before council. But we just, the council needs your help among all the commissions to make sure that we're following the code. And if we don't like the code, the right way to deal with it is to change it, not to ignore it, not to decide, well, we're going to fix this by just not following it. My personal opinion as an individual council person, that's not good governance. And I think you're going to see a shift in terms of this council in following that more. Follow the code or change it. Okay? It makes sense. Former Chair Golden speaking about there's a reason, there's a logic to why the building permit should not be issued until it goes through the public art process if it's in fact not exempt, because that makes more sense from a design standpoint. There is a logic to this. That's the way it should be. So don't feel, in any way pressured that you're holding up the project. There's a reason it's supposed to be that way, and it should be followed. So I just want to say that I'm really was pleased to be here and watch all of this, and say that you've, as you can see, my wife is very committed to public art. And she got me involved in public art when we were, in Louisiana. And I'm just really, I'm kind of emotional about this. I think you're stewards of a new heritage that is going to be, future generations are really going to treasure. Seeing a city with this kind of level of public art commitment. Oh, and then one other comment. It's not just approving the public art. The steward's comment. Please be sure and be careful about everything having to do with the adoption of that public art, and that includes, remember, if you read the code, issues of maintenance, issues of if modifications occur, how the artist is to be involved. And yet again, please be stewards in the sense of watching what's going on with staff about this. And if there seems to be some slippage on that, in terms of things aren't adhering to the maintenance agreements that have been executed, again, don't be inhibited about, if you feel like you're not being heard, come to council. All right, please. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I think it's important to note that this commission is very aware of the importance of public art to this community. The fact that we have that revised ordinance is directly the consequence of members of this commission looking at what had happened with the older ordinance and deciding this won't do. And Christine and Barbara Hirsch and Mimi and Susan Steinsmiller-Amman put in, I think one would have to say, months and years of work to bring the code into place that is now there. And I think the fact that they worked as effectively as they did with staff is also worth noting. It's, things do happen, but this commission has been extraordinarily fortunate in that we've had Steve McClary as our staff representative, and I can't think of a single instance where we said, well, gee whiz, what happened? It's always been, gee whiz, thank you. And I think that's going to continue to be the case. We have a very effective working relationship with the principal staff person that we're connecting with, who in turn has brought other services to bear for this commission's behalf. So that will continue, I'm sure, and we will certainly continue to be coming to the council. Christine has made a marked impact in that regard. That's going to be a tough act to follow, too. But there's no question that
I'll still be
this
there.
council, like the previous council, values art in this community. We don't feel that we're poor stepchildren or anything of that sort. So we will continue to come to the council and present ideas, make recommendations, and ask for money. Any other comments? Then we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Let me get up. You're going to be fantastic. I can't do the
You
public
adjourned the
art on
meeting,
this,
so
but thank you.
it's all right.
Thank you.
And I'll be coming to commission meetings just to report on the public art thing.
Good.
So
No.
after you give your
I was-
report, if
let
I'm
me-
there,
let me
you
turn
can
the,
Steve
yeah.
wants to talk about this, because
Yeah.
they do, they need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll still work together on that. So who needs sheets?
Thanks for
Don't be
being with
running
us.
off without